In 2007, a routine police night patrol in Algeria intercepted two young men acting nervously in a dark alley. The officers conducted a search and arrested both men, local youths named Rabah and Yazid, for possession of a massive quantity of narcotics. The sheer volume of drugs meant Yazid was facing a severe prison sentence. Desperate to avoid spending his youth behind bars, he looked at the lead investigator and offered a trade. He would give them the details of a cold case in exchange for leniency. Yazid claimed that Rabah's father had been murdered and buried in the family's courtyard 14 years prior, even though official records still listed the man as a missing person. This routine street-level narcotics bust forced a reopening of a cold case that had survived for over a decade through a series of calculated, high-stakes improvisations by the family. To understand how a body stays hidden in a courtyard for over a decade, we have to look at the environment where the crime occurred. In 1994, Algeria's dense, sprawling coastal capital was enveloped in chaos. The nation was in the grip of the Black Decade, a period of brutal civil conflict between government forces and insurgents. Heavily armed military vehicles monitored the streets, and thousands of ordinary citizens vanished into the crossfire on a regular basis. Amina walked into a local police station and wept, reporting that her nearly blind husband Omar had gone missing. Against the barrage of daily casualties and political violence filling the newspapers, overwhelmed investigators concluded Omar had simply wandered into the danger zone. The immense scale of the national crisis provided a protective layer of anonymity. Amina's targeted domestic execution became just another uninvestigated disappearance in a country dealing with thousands of them. Omar's death was engineered to solve three specific problems for his wife. Amina was carrying on a secret affair with a man named Hamid. Omar was actively blocking his daughter from marrying his older cousin, Mahdi, and despite his failing eyesight, Omar was beginning to hear unfamiliar footsteps in the house, growing highly suspicious. Amina, her lover Hamid, and the cousin Mahdi calculated their timing precisely. They chose the first day of Eid al-Adha. With the children sent away to relatives and the surrounding neighborhood heavily distracted by the holiday festivities, the house was entirely empty. Amina sat with her blind husband, distracting him with casual conversation. Behind him, Hamid slipped into the room quietly, wrapped a thick rope around Omar's neck, and strangled him. They dragged the body into the front courtyard to bury him next to a large family tree, but they miscalculated the timing. Amina's 10-year-old son, Rabah, returned home early, woke up in the dark, and looked out his bedroom window. He watched his mother and two men digging his father's grave. Amina spotted the boy at the window, dragged him to his bed, and locked his door from the outside. Knowing her child had seen everything, she launched a 14-year campaign of psychological manipulation. She repeatedly told Rabah he was hallucinating, terrifying the boy into silence, and driving him straight into a debilitating drug addiction to numb his own memory. Back in 2007, investigators took Rabah's confession seriously. They raided the family home, marched straight to the front courtyard, and began driving shovels deep into the earth next to the family tree. Throughout the excavation, Amina maintained absolute composure. She calmly dismissed her son's detailed murder accusations to the detectives, explaining with pity that Rabah was a severe drug addict suffering from intense paranoia. The laborers dug meters down into the exact spot Rabah identified. They excavated the entire root system of the tree. They found absolutely nothing. No bones, no fabric, no trace of human remains. The physical reality of the barren dirt seemingly validated Amina's story. Embarrassed, the police filled the hole back in, formally apologized to Amina, and charged Rabah with filing a false police report. How does a child perfectly recall the traumatic burial of his father, only for the police to find undisturbed dirt in that exact spot 14 years later? This floor plan shows exactly how Amina outsmarted the investigation. Realizing her son witnessed the burial, she changed the plan. Hamid and Mahdi pulled the body out, dragging his remains to a secret backyard grave. They intentionally left the front courtyard completely empty. Amina designed the empty hole to serve as a physical failsafe. If Rabah ever brought the police to the family tree, the sight of undisturbed earth would effectively confirm the boy's story as a hallucination. The decoy grave worked perfectly. The police were gone. But surviving the excavation didn't make Amina feel secure. Instead, it triggered a massive wave of paranoia. She became convinced that Rabah would eventually push the detectives to search the backyard. At midnight that very same evening, Amina made a fatal error. She woke up Amid and Mahdi, handed them shovels, and ordered them to dig up the actual grave in the backyard so they could transport the skeleton away from the house permanently. The frantic sounds of metal hitting dirt echoed through the neighborhood, waking up a resident next door. The neighbor called in a standard noise disturbance. A patrol unit drove back to Amina's house, walked directly into the backyard, and caught all 3 adults standing over Omar's exposed remains. Amina successfully weaponized a civil war to hide a body. She broke her son's sanity to protect her secret, and she engineered a physical trap to discredit the police. Yet, after 14 years of absolute discipline, it was her sudden inability to trust her own lie that finally unearthed the truth.